All right, let's get into today's price action and what transpired. Uh, overview of the charts, they're probably looking a little bit messy, and I kind of kept them that way. They were extremely messy. I cleaned up most of it to kind of just leave the important stuff. Um, Starting off, let's see. Okay, my actual mindset going into today, I was bearish until previous day low, and if we did sweep that, I would have liked to see a reversal up as like a two candle rejection out of the daily fair value gap on ES. Um, that was my original daily. I was still pretty bullish. I just wanted to see some sort of sell side swept. Um, Moving into the 4 hour was looking increasingly bearish. I mean, we had the 4 hour here on ES, which is kind of holding price down. So if we look at just market structure in itself, yeah, higher lows, higher highs, I mean, lower highs. And the same thing kind of just would have transpired. And previous day low would have definitely been the target if we did continue lower like that. So that was something to keep in mind. 4 hour was looking bearish, but then we also had that daily bullish holding price up. So it's kind of two-way there. Looking at the 1 hour, I was still pretty bearish just because the market structure to me looked bearish at that point. But I was just gonna play off of what kind of price action we saw when the day kind of moved along. So moving in, we had a lot of just consolidation uh, before pre-market. So there's a lot of consolidation, and then we finally started seeing some movement. So let me mark out the first macro. Kind of start off with that. Yeah, so starting off, we had put in that 5 minute gap. So my eyes initially went there. ES was shooting a lot higher, so I'd actually marked out this high, which actually never got swept. This one did, but this one didn't. That was the original high I was looking for to get swept. Put in a very large SMT. That didn't happen, but we did still put in a pretty large SMT. I was waiting for this 5 minute high to get swept while that gets swept, but either way, we had that. And then this was a really strong displacement, which gave me a lot of conviction in the short side. Um, this was a 15-minute swing low that I saw as a potential target if we expanded um, past Asia lows. But looking at the market structure, we didn't actually get an entry up here, and that's something I've got to look into because you'll see today that happened twice. But yeah, regardless, this was a nice trade. If we had gotten a push, I definitely would have executed. I was completely ready for it, but unfortunately, the entry just wasn't offered in this situation. It was down here, and that's something I'm looking at. Should I realistically, I still could have uh, had a position here that would have made sense with my risk to reward. At least get 25 handle stop and go for that 15-minute low. I can still squeeze pretty much a 1.8, which is part of my rules. So let me pull up my checklist. Um, I still could have got away with that. In the moment, I just didn't take it. So it is what it is. Um, Moving forward, then we had a nice sweep of that low and a push higher. So then I started looking for actually bullish prices because we had a big 5 minute fair value gap here on both ES and NQ, and I was looking at like a 50% retracement, maybe into discount to look for higher prices off of this level and that sweep. But we kind of just ripped through it. So then I started looking for potential shorts, I'm not going to lie. But then once we had that sweep here and nice displacement, I was convinced that we would actually keep moving higher. Now, same thing happened here. We didn't get a entry on the first fair value gap. We did on the second. That would have actually been a break-even trade. We did get this eventually, but it was just way too far out of macro, and it's not in my rules. So that's basically how it played out. This was my target. That gave me a at least a 1.8, which I could have got. So that was my target for that 5 minute gap. So that's basically how it played out, and uh that's good. So let me see. I've been actually looking at this final macro recently. It's probably been a lot better considering how choppy and the initial price action has been. Actually, it hasn't even really been that choppy. I just haven't been getting real entries, at least at my preferred zone, and that's kind of what I expect, anyways. Especially if I'm um, a- aiming to get an entry when I have a breakaway gap. So it's like it's a 50-50 shot there, but I would get much better risk reward. So that is something that um, I keep in mind when I am. So I was looking over this. There wasn't really anything, at least on NQ. On ES, we had to drop into a 5 minute. No secondary sweep. That's something I love to see. Just like this 5 minute here, a secondary sweep and then a displacement down. Um, we didn't have that, so there wasn't really anything for me on the last one. I just kind of looked over it, but that's pretty much it for today. It was a flat day. Um, Good price action. I think my analysis was again pretty solid, and I'm working through a lot of the psychological barriers that I was previously kind of just dealing with. So I put up a couple of sticky notes. One of them just reads, "Anything can happen." The second one's just like trust in probabilities, because in the past that's been my sort of mistake is just not putting enough trust in probabilities and not letting them sort of play out over a long period of time. I've sort of strategy hopped before, and I just got to do whatever it kind of takes to mitigate that and make sure that doesn't happen again. And I found a lot actually is kind of isolating yourself from the trading space, at least off of social media. So just find like one or two or a couple people that kind of trade with the same model or psychology or something that you want to pick up from them, and then outside of that, just kind of uh, isolate yourself and just have those kind of main people. And that's what I've been doing, and it helps a lot because you're not just getting force fed just random garbage pretty much. I mean, a lot of it can be useful, but most of the time realistically it's not, because it's not part of your model, and then you're gonna overcomplicate things, start thinking about different things, and it takes away from your edge. So that's something I've realized, and something I'm gonna implement and make sure I stick to. So that's pretty much it.